Yeah, so Xbox had their 20th anniversary celebration, but unfortunately, there's a lot on this week, so we didn't do a dedicated segment to it. There are a couple of things that they announced. They had The Rock show up and promote his new
That
movie
was
and all
cool.
this stuff. So there's a few things out there, but probably the biggest news that came out, or at least the things that interested me the most, is the fact that they announced the final batch of backwards compatibility titles. They haven't released one since before the launch of Xbox Series X, actually quite a while before, as well as a huge update to the FPS Boost feature. So there's 70 more games that have been added to backwards compatibility.
Nice.
As I mentioned, it will be the final mount. It actually includes over 20 original Xbox titles. And now we essentially have the entire Max Payne series, the entire Fear series, and Skate series playable on backwards compatibility, which is neat. A couple highlights for me, and I'll put a link in the description, the clip to the full list. First, 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, which is playing on the
Woo!
screen, which is a
Yeah,
fun game. I
it's
played
a
through that.
really good
I played
game.
through that with Joe Jives. You insult every time you shoot, you get a bonus. It is an awesome game. Someone unlocked an achievement there. Great thing. We've got Bankshot Billiards 2, which I love. I got all the achievements in that by hooking up a turbo controller. That's also a great thing. Beautiful Katamari is an awesome game. Binary
Very good.
Domain, Mortal Kombat,
One.
the no, I can't remember. It's Mortal Kombat 9, I think. Mortal Kombat 9. Mini Ninjas is an awesome game, the original Nier game, which is weird considering they just did the remaster.
That was weird to me.
It is a different game technically.
Risen 1 and Risen 2, not Risen 3, which I'm a bit miffed about.
Unrisen.
Sacred 2 Fallen Angel, which is a great game. Skate 2, which I will talk about in a segment coming up later. And Time Splitters 2 from the original Xbox. So there are 70 games altogether. It's great to have more added in, but this is where I flip and talk about the fact that it absolutely sucks that there's a last batch.
You have a whinge. You have a whinge.
I'm having a whinge because
Let it
man,
all
You're on the
out.
whinge.
You're
there
never
are
going to get Risen 3.
You've
there
added
are
all these
exactly-
free games.
they're not free. Hey, you gotta still own these games.
No,
One
no,
thing I'll
no,
call out,
playing.
thanks for reminding me of that, is what this means is that's 70 more games that are in the potential lineup for Games with Gold each month. So every single
Like your
game,
brain.
no, because a lot of people don't understand this is the way it works.
Yeah, no, I get it.
With Games for Gold, the original Xbox titles and the Xbox 360 titles that are added in are always backwards compatible for future Xbox consoles.
Yeah.
So that's now 70 more potential games. There's a lot of good ones in there that could potentially get added in.
You feel like if there's no licensing issues, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand is like guaranteed just because it will get, social media buzz.
Oh, I love that game so much. But there are a whole bunch of games. Well, I'm not going to go through them all, but a whole bunch of my favorite games that never made the cut. Alpha Protocol from Obsidian.
Oh, yeah.
Really underrated game. I absolutely love it. That's not backwards compatible. Bionic Commander Rearmed 2. The first game, Bionic Commander Rearmed. Like, awesome game, Things like, we talked about Risen 3. They did the first two. It's just weird that they didn't add the third one. Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. Absolutely brilliant game,
yeah.
So it does suck, but it's better than nothing. They definitely clearly said that this is the last batch. So I guess we're just gonna have to whip out the 360 for those old games.
And their reason was quite
something else to
interesting.
convince Phil.
Their reason was interesting, Swinny, right? They said technical and then legal issues. I was like, I wonder what the legal issues were.
Well, also, like, I went through a lot of the big games that aren't in there have since had re-releases of some sort. So LA Noirs, not Red Dead Redemption, but like basically there's a lot of games that have since been re-released. So that's fine that they haven't done those because there's always a way to get them.
Fair enough.
But anyway, back to the good news. So there's been 37 more games that have been upgraded with the Xbox FPS Boost feature. And one of the biggest things playing on the screen at the moment is one of the things that I'm so looking forward to replaying is Sonic Unleashed.
This is insane, yeah.
Sonic Unleashed is a game that was really derided at launch, and since people have come to realize that, it's actually a great game, especially the actual Sonic segments. And the fact that this game now runs at 60 frames is absolutely awesome. Like, I put so much time into this game that now I feel like going back to it and just replaying it because of this.
I feel like that's a critical thing to
60.
land. This was a 30 frames per second game, high speed Sonic game. which demanded it to be 60 frames per second, and now they've hacked it to make it work, which is incredible.
Yeah. And Sonic
Nice.
Generations as well, which is definitely was more favored when that released. But there's a whole lot of games, like all the Gears of War games, essentially now, all the older ones. The first Assassin's Creed, there's so many good ones here that check out the list in the link. But and the good thing about this is we will see more games get this update. This is not the last batch of FPS Boost games. So yeah, so that's to me that was the biggest thing. A bit of a shame there wasn't much else really coming out of the anniversary, but they did clarify they wouldn't be announcing new games, but still kind of hoping for maybe a trailer or something we'd heard about. So
I mean, we haven't spoken too much about the whole FPS boost, but I feel like it's got to be the most underrated feature of the Xbox. Like it's such an incredible thing that they're doing, and kind of like showing a lot of love to the community, because they get nothing from this in a way. And it's actually really super interesting how they do it. I don't know if you know the name of the guy, Swinny, but you know the guy with the long beard from the Xbox team? He's one of the senior execs there. He's like the hardware dude.
I know the dude you're talking about. Yeah.
So that guy, like I watched the whole interview, him talking about it. It's really fascinating. It's like the games they can do it and then the games they can't. And the biggest part of it generally is around the physics engine and how it runs against the game clock. And they kind of fake the engine to go, yeah, I'm ready for a new frame. Give it to me. And the engine will go, oh, okay, cool. Like, but it's thinking it's running at 30, but it's actually like at the half interval as well. So that's how they're getting the extra one in. But some of the games, they've tried to figure every way to get around the physics engine running at double time. It's quite like fascinating just how they do it.
It's really fascinating, yeah.
Yeah.
They were talking about that in that video that Joe Jives linked about the making of the PlayStation 5, and it's the same thing. They played a few games and they just ran too fast because the game was bound by the performance of the console at the time. So they had to actually tweak that and effectively make the console run slower in a way. So
there's a lot of PC games that do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I think this is really cool. This actually gets me really excited. Like this kind of stuff to me is the polish that makes me go, Series X one day, even simple things like Fallout 3. Okay, cool. That runs at 60. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So no, I think Xbox is doing an awesome job at the moment. You must be very happy as the Xbox shill, Swinny.
Let's move on.